Okay, so here we go. Let me just jump right into it. This is basically the checklist I do. And let me show you. Based on my findings here, I put them in. So this is kind of a generic process I have. But if you're doing all these things, then of course it wouldn't take 6 months. But on average, it takes between 4 to 6 months to get all this stuff going. Yeah, so it's not something. If I had more people, you could knock it out maybe in a couple months, but it just takes a long time to get going. But after about 4 months, you should start seeing some improved ranking results. But let me not jump too far ahead. You're going to have a problem because you don't have a dedicated web page. You have a sub page off of Contour Mortgage. So Contour Mortgage is the domain that's going to be getting all of the juice, right? Because in Google Analytics, there's things called properties. So let me see if I can bring it up. So this is Google's free tool to see, what kind of traffic you're getting, et cetera, et cetera. Let me wait for it to come up. Right here. So these are all the properties that I manage. So you can see this is going to be data going to cyberwonka.com, interestinganswers.com, Norzer, and norzerdemo.com. The problem with yours is you're not managing it because all the data is going into contourmortgage.com. So let's say you got 1,000 hits on your homepage. This domain, contourmortgage.com, is going to get the credit, not necessarily. Well, there's something called domain authority and page authority, which aren't Google metrics, but they're like third-party metrics. So you would get some page credit, I guess would be the right way to say it, but you really need to have your own domain property within Google Analytics and Google Search Console. Now, the only way to do this, since you can't, I don't think you can modify this, and if you can't, there's not much you can really do because there's just so much stuff that needs to be. As I go along, you'll see what I'm talking about. But the way to do this would be to create your own website. Right, and one of the guys that works for me is a good website designer. You do it in WordPress for like $500 to $600. I think he went up because of all this crazy inflation stuff. Of course, you would need to provide the content, and we would work with you in getting all the content up there. And if you need I have content writers as well. So that's something to keep in mind, right? I'm not trying to sell you on it. You can, if you Google for WordPress website designer, you'll see it generally costs a lot more than that, right? But it's something to consider, and you'll see why that's important as we go along. So when it comes to local SEO, the big three things are relevance. How relevant is your business to the search? The second one is, wow, my mind just went blank. Relevance, distance. That's not the exact word. How far are you from it? Relevance, distance, and authority, I think is the word. My mind just went totally blank. So it's proximity, relevance, and reputation is the other one. How good of a reputation do you have all over the web? So your web footprint. What do you like? I guess and nobody knows for sure, but what's your ratings on Yelp? Are you mentioned in newspapers and stuff? All that kind of stuff, right? So let's jump right into this. We got a lot of steps here, and hopefully this might take an hour because you don't have your own dedicated web page. So I'll just do no. So if it says yes, it may sound like you have errors. Yes, or you're verified. Let me see. Service area. Basically, if it says yes, this means you're doing it properly. If it says no, you're not doing it properly. So you can see there's a lot of things to work on. So review attributes. So basically, review attributes are. Let me log back in. Somehow, for some reason, it logged me out. Let me put this back here. So this is basically just a note. Let me get the city. Yeah, you're in Garden City. That's right. So we're just going to do Garden City, New York, mortgage brokers. And what this is, you want to, anytime you're doing SEO, you want to find out what what companies are ranking high, because Google likes those, obviously. So you want to try to structure everything and use their keywords, use their entities and stuff like that, right? Because those are ranking high, obviously. So let's go to maps. So mortgage lenders, let me see something. Okay, so there's Contour here, right? So what you want to do, all entities it's these bold keywords that Google thinks are important. Right here. See rate. Right? Let's go here. These are coming from the reviews. Service, communication, staff, families. The note I made here, these are just keywords we would want to focus on. Now these are the, you're not selling headphones, so you have good relationships with these people you're working with, I presume. I mean, you know, you're probably getting to know them a little bit. So when you're asking for reviews, what you want to do is you want to if you feel comfortable, craft the review for them. Say, hey, you know, Bob, and, you know, send an email that's very personal, so it doesn't look like it's automatically generated. And, you know, hey, Bob, hope you had a fun at the Yankees game, or something very personal, so they know it's not mass generated. And then say, please leave a review. If you want, here's the actual review you could use, right? Only if you feel comfortable. You may not feel comfortable doing that. And these, you want to focus on your service keywords, your geographical keywords. So New York, and I would keep forgetting your city name. It's up here, Garden City. And these are things we also want to focus on. See, service, communication. So basically, there's a lot of places to use them. So I just made a note of it, and that's something we could go back to. Let me pause it real quick. I think I messed something up. Okay. I had these up a cell, right? So, okay, so what this is if you can include your keywords in your business name, you can generally rank higher for it, not as much as you could up until a couple months ago. So you don't want your competition to use, you want to make sure your competition is using only their business name, not business name. So there's let me see Advisor Mortgage Group. You don't want them to get away with putting their city name in here. Because basically, when you're trying to give Google context, you want to use your keywords in the geographical location. So what you would do, you would make a suggestion on their Google My Business, their Maps profile, and suggest the business name is just Advisors Mortgage Group, and get rid of Garden City. And so they're not getting that extra push, right? There's no reason your competition should get that extra push. And there was another one I saw, PNC Mortgage, Garden City. Now, if that may actually, let me just show you the two that I found. We would go into more Advisors Mortgage and Madison Mortgage. So those are two we would look at. Those are the two that I found. Okay, so are you verified? Yes, you're verified. Errors. So one thing I noticed when going through this, this is something you want to check like once a month. You want to go to the home page and just make sure there's no new features that you're not aware of. This is where a lot of COVID stuff got announced. When they launched messaging, this is where it got announced. So you just want to come here like once a month. And you can see here, complete your business profile. It's not finished. So this is a dashboard. Get more reviews. We're going to get into that. Celebrating Black-owned businesses. If you had a Black-owned business, it's something you would want to add those attributes. So if you're not looking here, you don't know what new features are being implemented, and perhaps some errors that it's seeing. Generally, the errors are going to be on the info page. So you can see this location has updated information. So basically, like I told you, to suggest a business name change to that business that is spamming extra keywords, you would want to, and you're actually, I would have this say, Greg Ahern, senior loan. We would have to talk about that, but you definitely don't want this in here, because it's against, why this matters, it's against Google guidelines to have anything other than just the business name in there. If you have more stuff, you can get suspended, and they're suspending businesses more and more. That's why I would have a dedicated web page, and whatever the title is of the web page, it should be exactly the same thing here. So you can see the suggestion that was added was this, your wheelchair accessible entrance. So you just need to go and confirm that, and that'll get rid of that. So categories. So categories, what you want to do, you want to make sure you're using all the categories that your competition's using. So you're using mortgage lender and mortgage broker, which makes sense to me. That makes perfect sense. Where you'll see it is like somebody will own a pizza restaurant, and what they'll have pizza restaurant and maybe like Italian restaurant, but they won't also just have restaurant, they won't have pizza delivery, etc., etc. So if you look at your competition, let's look at the category. So they're using mortgage lender. So again, you want to look at the categories the top results are using. So mortgage lender, financial institution. I don't know if that would work for you or not. It's probably something I wouldn't put. The one that stuck out was mortgage lender, mortgage broker, Okay, these are, so it looks like you're doing the right ones. There was another one. It said like the results changed on me, believe it or not. So it's kind of, you're not an ATM. Okay, this is it right here, foreclosure service. I don't think you're a foreclosure service, but this is stuff we would want to look at, right? But I think you're good. I think those two are probably the most appropriate ones. Business profile information. There's something that's called use what Google gives you. If Google gives you 300 characters, 300 word limit, you want to use those as much as possible. You want to put, so this is not good because you're only using 147 characters of 750. You want to, I mean, it doesn't have to be 750. It can be 680 or 720, but it needs to be a lot more than 147. This is where you would put those attributes that I discussed. Customer service, company, people best. This is where you need to put your location information. This is where you need to make a mention of all of your specific services, right? So we need to do a lot better job of updating that business description. Okay, phone number. Okay, this is interesting. So Google can get confused if two businesses share the same address. So I did this, and I noticed there was another ENT Allergy and Associates. So I would want to see what's going on there. I saw, when I looked on maps, I can see it's this big building, so there's probably just suites or like, you know, room numbers or something. So in your address, we want to make sure we make it specific. This needs to say 990 Stewart Avenue, you like number 3 or something, or suite 3. So we need to make that different. Same thing with the phone number. There was a duplicate phone number as well. I'm not going to go show you it just to save time, but there was a duplicate phone number. Yeah, your business name is spammy, so that's something we need to update. Service areas, you're not using service areas, which is good because you don't go out to people's houses. Your hours look good, but that's something you want to verify. Make sure those hours are okay. Your website URL is good. So when I say website URL, I just mean in info here, right? Your appointment link is good. Okay, products, you're not using products, which is fine, because you're not selling any physical products. I like the services, but you're not doing, what you need to do is in these services, you need to have the description using the appropriate keywords. I like to put the geo information, home purchases, like some, it just depends. Like I was just on a call with there's like an SEO mastermind group. I hate to use that word. It sounds like arrogant, but it's not meant to be. Like SEO, there's a group of people that we chat every so often and kind of throw around ideas. I asked a question to this one guy who's a lot smarter than me. I said, would you do this or would you do that? And his answer was, it just depends. And that's true. It really does just depend. So you could do like New York, and it's something you just have to test. But at a minimum, you need to have the service description filled in. Also, for every service here on your web page, you need to have like a drop down here. So like on my business page, and it's slow because I'm logged in. I don't want you to think my web page is slow for some reason. So you have this drop down. So in which I don't have Google My Business set up because I don't have a physical office and I don't want to get banned. But if I did, these would be the services mentioned, and I would. Because Google likes to, let me go back here. You see something. Okay, I didn't know if I didn't remember it having a URL. I thought maybe it did. Google, the more confident you're giving accurate information, it makes sense. The higher Google is going to rank you. So if you mention all these services and you have a landing page for all these, then there's a pretty good chance Google's going to rank you higher. I mean, it happens all the time. At a minimum, if you can't create a landing page, this is something that you want to at least mention these keywords on the homepage to start off with. It'd be really expensive to do all these because landing pages, you could do them on your own, but to hire somebody, it'd be like $75 each. So you could just do one at first and go from there. Right? So as you can see, it's pretty expensive. This isn't a cheap thing to do, but what I'm giving you here is exactly how I would do it. So if you want to do it on your own, that's totally cool. If you want my help, that's fine. But I'm not holding anything back. This is exactly how I do it. Yeah, attributes. So it doesn't look like, and perhaps you did, but the attributes are here. Let's just make sure they're up to date. Here, boom. Okay, this is I just noticed this. Yeah, so these, I doubt you're black-owned, Latino-owned, veteran-owned, and woman-owned. I mean, maybe you do. Maybe there's a black guy that owns it. You have a Latino owner, and a veteran owns it, and a woman owns it. But this is kind of generally that's probably contradictory. So I'd go through here and clean that up and add what other attributes you need to. And put this here, and I'm going to give you this spreadsheet, so you don't need to be taking notes. Opening date, it's probably right. Google Post. Again, this is just another time-consuming thing. You have up until February. You have posts, and this is good. And it's something, what I like to do is link to blog articles, link to my service pages, and even if you get no traffic from them, it's just something once a week or once every 2 weeks, something to post, because it takes up more screen real estate, right? So if you do Greg Ahern Mortgage, if you pull up over here, it just puts it down here. So see, like, the more of the screen real estate you're taking up, the better. That's something you want to do, and this is going to be very overwhelming, all this stuff I'm going to go through, and it's not something you have to do all this stuff, right? There's some core things that should be done, and then you can just go slowly. See, a lot of people get frustrated because they think it's like a 1 month fix. A true SEO campaign is going to take months and months to configure, to get correct, and then after that, it's going to take a few months to actually for Google to start noticing those and ranking you higher in the search results. Reviews with responses. I made a note. Good, but need more and improve with the keyword. Okay, so that goes back to what I said earlier about if you could get these clients to use specific keywords, if possible. But these are good because these are very personal. I like these. Sometimes you'll see reviews that just say, thanks for your service, right? And those are good, but they're not as good as having these really detailed reviews, so that's really good. You're doing very good responses too. You don't want to just have responses that say, thank you, call me if you need anything. I like that you make it real personal, because I think it's like 80% of people read reviews before using a business, before visiting a business, and people are seeing that you really have at least I see you seem to have a good relationship with these people. I would also go a little further and say, have fun at the Yankees game, or have fun at Gino's restaurant tonight or something, just so it really shows that you're being personal. If you're doing a good job of responding to all reviews, it's really important. You need to get more reviews though. It's something you always want to send out an email like a week after, before something happens and they're not happy with you, and then if they don't respond, wait another week, send another one out to request a review, and if they don't do it, they don't do it. So let me show you. You don't want to just say, leave me a review. What you want to do, I think they have the link page up here. Let me see. Right here. So you just don't want to say, leave me a Google review, right? Because people aren't going to go find it and try to find the review button. I mean, it's a pain in the butt, right? Let's say they find it and they're like, okay, well, where's the review button, right? They're just going to stop. So you send them this URL. So if you could send them the URL and the exact text, I mean, it's perfect. So this URL goes directly to the review page, right? And so that's how, and I can create an email template for you. Basically, the first line's personal, like have great pleasure doing business with you, have fun at the Giants game. And then the next part is generic. But it looks like it's personal because the first sentence is personal, right? So you always want to ask for a Google review, but you also want to ask for a second review, whether it's Yelp, whether it's Facebook, whether it's any of these niche, I don't know if you would qualify on real estate websites, right? Like realtor.com, probably not. But if there's anything like that, you could ask for them there too. Basically, the second request should be on any place you need the review, whether you don't have a lot of reviews on that site or perhaps you have negative reviews on that site. So if you have a 2 out of 5 rating on a website, you want to get a lot of reviews to those websites too. Get it above like a 4.2. And I can help you with all that. One thing that really helps is, and I think you're an agent, like you're not the business owner, unless maybe you could be like an independent contractor or something. What really helps is bosses telling their employees, if you get a review for me, I'll give you a $20 gift card to Amazon or $10 to Chili's or whatever. And that's really helps increase the number of reviews. So that's something to think about. I don't know what this A30 means. Use keywords in geo. Okay, that's exactly what we went over above. Messages. Are you using messages? You can't tell from here because there's no signal that you're using it or you're not using it. But what you want to do is you want to use messages. So what that's going to do is anytime when somebody's, it's just going to put a message me button right here. You want to give people as many ways to contact you as possible. Now if you, it'll send it to your, it's going to pop up within the app, and it's also going to send you a text message. The thing is, if you don't respond to those within 24 hours, Google's going to hide the button. So it's make sure it's something that you can do before you set it up. Okay, moving along. So we're trying to see how far along we are. I can't see the clock. Let me pause it real quick. Okay, 20 minutes in. It's about where I was hoping where we'd be. Website URL, where are we at here? And photos. Do you have the photos? You have some pretty good photos, right? And this, I mean, for you, you're not selling houses. You don't need to take photos of houses. You don't have new headphones. You're not selling, candy. So there's not really a lot of photos you can do. I like your photos. I like you have videos on there. Since you're not selling actual retail products, it's not something. If you were selling retail things, or like you were a restaurant, you had new dishes, you'd want to put photos on there pretty frequently. But you don't, you don't have your own business, so you don't really need these 3 inside, 3 team, before and after. So what I would do is just every so often, even if it doesn't make any sense, well, I shouldn't say that, even if it doesn't seem like it adds value, to put a new photo on there, because it's a signal. At a minimum, it's a signal to Google that you're maintaining things. Right? If you're using the photos, if you're using the videos, if you're doing the reviews, if you're using the messaging, it makes sense that Google wants to showcase their product, so it's going to move you higher in the results. Can't prove that, but it seems to make sense. Before and after, this doesn't make sense. I should have taken that out. That's for like if you're like a painter or something. 360 drone videos are also good. Again, doesn't make sense for you. Users, this just says make sure you don't have any users that don't need access to your profile. So as soon as we get done working, make sure you take me out. I'm obviously not going to go hack anything, but what if somebody compromises my account and gets into this, right? So it's just, I do security stuff well, so I'm very aware of like security things. Questions. So questions are really interesting. What you want to do is, go back here, Greg Ahern. If you go here, you want to, these are questions customers can ask, but you want to fill these out. What questions are you frequently asked? You want to answer these and ask these and answer these yourself. And also on your page, you should have a frequently asked questions section. Now, I don't know if you can do that or not, because I think you're limited just to this one page. But if you could maybe put it down here somewhere. But yeah, it's gonna be just difficult with this sub-page, I guess we could call it, that you don't own the domain for. It's going to be really, really difficult to rank for this. As you can see, there's definitely things we can do, but it's going to be a lot harder to get to where you want to get without having your own independent web page. Okay, same thing with Know This Place. Answer those questions. Okay, so Screaming Frog is a site spider whenever the domain is getting the juice. So it's indexed. Well, it is indexed. It's just you only have that one page. So this goes over, is SSL proper? Do you have broken links? You're doing that okay? Are you using redirects? You're doing that okay? And this is like looking at the page titles and keywords, using all the page titles. I'm not going to go over this much since you don't have a bunch of pages, but you can see here your page title, Greg Ahern Contour Mortgage. So on this page title, you would want to do Greg Ahern Contour Mortgage, then another, what would that be? Bar Mortgage Broker New York or whatever, right? So that's something we'd want to improve upon. I don't know if you could do that. Same thing for meta descriptions, right? So all these service pages, you would have better titles, better URLs, and meta descriptions. You don't have obviously any images really. You don't have any possible broken links, so a lot of this stuff is irrelevant. So until you get those, a lot of this stuff is irrelevant, other than perhaps the page titles you might be able to do something with in the meta descriptions. Okay, this is just this is just notes. I would do keyword research for local competition or nationwide competition. Nothing to do with this audit though. Optimize content. So this is after we create content, I optimize it. This is my process. I'm going to include it. I have a video. This is essentially my process for writing content that can rank and how to write it. It's very manual. go over it just to save time, but that's how you would do it. And this is something I would do if I was doing this work for you. So you can watch that. So you don't have the landing pages for, like, on your landing pages for your services, you would also put a lot of geographical information on those too. So you don't have those, but that's something we would definitely do. Your domain age, you don't have control over your domain age, so there's nothing you can do about it. You don't have, there's no backlinks coming to your website, so that's not good. Something we would try to get. Favicon, you don't have a favicon, which is this little globe up here. See how, like, my website has the little logo? YouTube has the little triangle, so that's something you need to, and again, you may not be able to do anything about that, but that's something that needs to be fixed. You don't have a sitemap because you don't control it. Well, let me go look, actually. I probably should have looked. Sitemap. Just go robots. This just gives Google's instructions to what's what. Okay, so you do have a robots, but again, it's not your domain, which is unfortunate. This is basically telling the Google indexing bot, saying, don't index in this directory, right? But also in here, it normally specifies where the sitemap is. If it doesn't have it, if it does, a sitemap is basically, this is a blog I have that's just trivia. It's real old. It looks dated, but it's basically a roadmap for Googlebot to come and say, okay, these are all the posts. This is when they were added, when they were updated. So that's something you'd want to have too. And if you don't have it, Google's going to just go through all your links and find new content. But it helps Google find all this new content. Okay. Website performance. Your website performance is okay. That's another ranking factor. I don't know why I can't click on these things. Actually, I think I kept it up. Now let's just do this. Yeah, I'm not going to get too much into this, and I only really do WordPress performance. Can't really help much here other than give suggestions, and you probably can't do anything with this stuff anyway. But your largest contentful paint is not good, meaning how long it takes to load things on the screen. These are the 3 metrics that Google uses to determine if a website's fast or not. Not going to get too much into it, but if you look at the waterfall chart, these long lines, these are how, like, this JPEG is taking a long time to load, 4 seconds just to load this image. Even though it doesn't take that long when, like, a human goes to it, the algorithm thinks it's taking a long time. So these are things that would need to be investigated. Your page is mobile friendly? I ran a test. It is mobile friendly. You don't have any blog content. So why blog content's important? Because people generally aren't going to, unless they search for a mortgage broker near me, they're not going to find your page. The way people find your page is by having good blog content. Right, so I have all these really good blog pieces. How to locate and optimize large images on your website to improve website performance. So what happens is people find my videos and find them useful. Then they reach out to me and say, hey, I saw your video. It's really good. How do I hire you? So you don't, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more traffic you get for your content, the more traffic you're going to get to your actual service pages. And this also builds up what's called topical authority. Google's going to start to see that, okay, this website knows a lot about performance and security and SEO and performance, right? So you're helping Google understand what this site's about. If there's 5,000 posts on WordPress security, then there's a much higher chance you're going to rank higher when somebody searches for WordPress security. Right, so that's why it's really, really important. Now, and that qualify and conquer process goes over how to do that. Now, there's tools that can automate that. That's something we could discuss if you want. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. But it's just, you have to, you're going to rank a lot easier if your website's more than just a brochure. Because these people wouldn't have found out about me if I didn't have this content, right? If they didn't come to me and find out about me without these content pieces. And that process, it tells you how to find the right content to write about, how to qualify it, and how to actually write it. So you'll see what I'm talking about. I keep going back to this word for some reason. Okay. You don't have landing pages. This basically means just you want to link everything to everything else in your content. So anytime in a blog post you mention, home selling or something, you want to link to that landing page. You're not using TikTok. You're not using Twitter, which you see a lot of real estate people on TikTok. It's mainly just brand exposure, and it's again, this is just one more thing. If you could do it, that would be awesome. Create a video and explain, like, the secrets to, you see a lot of those real estate people, how I invested $10 and made $500 flipping an apartment. I guess those numbers are a little crazy, but you know, I spent $5,000 and flipped it into $10,000 remodeling a kitchen or whatever. People love that stuff. Same thing you could do on YouTube. You're not using Twitter. I wouldn't use Twitter for what you do. It's not really that big of a deal. I mean, it's not. You're not going to get any traffic off of it. So how to find out what videos to make? What you do is just search for your keywords and see what videos are getting 340K views. So these are the things you do YouTube videos on. You don't need anything fancy. I have a guy that can make an intro video for you. You don't even need an intro video. Like let me just show you this real quick. When I started, I didn't have an intro video. But look, I have this. You may not be able to hear it because it's going through my headphones. So I have that. Then it goes into in this video. I'm going to wanted that. You know, you could go to Fiverr and get somebody. I have a guy that I know is good for like $25, $50 and do a little intro video. But if you don't want, you don't even have to do that. But you just get started. That's going to give you brand exposure. That's also increasing your web footprint because Google just doesn't look at your website to see who you are. It's looking all around the web. Are you on YouTube? Are you in these niche directories? Are you mentioned in the New York Times? You know, or whatever. You know what I mean? So this is all really good stuff. So you can see most of these people, I'm sure, when I search for a keyword, mortgage broker or whatever, making videos, I'm sure those people are actually mortgage brokers themselves. And I get a lot of people contacting me after they watch my videos from YouTube, right? So it's free advertising essentially. So I do one every couple of weeks, and I have let me just show you this. Sometimes I'll do 2 a day. What you want to do, you just want to spread them out. So I really want to post all these because I'm like happy that I did them, and I just like, you know, it's just rewarding to see people appreciating your work. But I schedule them out. So I'm good. If I don't do anything for a month, I have these scheduled out to June 29th. Right? And if you can do one once a month, that's fine. Once every 2 months, but just something. Facebook and YouTube are important. You're doing Facebook, which is good. You're doing updates, which is good. What I like to do on Facebook is post screenshots of the reviews, right? Of the reviews that I get, so people can see how good of a job you're doing. That's and you don't want to post every day because people are you just start to tune it out. Something every few days. Post a review. Post a link to a blog post. That's the stuff that I would do. And every so often plug your services. Open Graph. It just makes so when you share your content to Twitter, it makes it look all pretty. You don't have that. YouTube, you're not doing that. We don't have that. Yeah, you'd want to create YouTube videos for all of your services and all your categories. So all your services mentioned here. Like I said, this is ideally, right? This would cost you thousands of dollars to do all this stuff. But what I would do is what a lot of people, when I work with them, they're like, wow, this is a lot of work and a lot of money. And I'm like, yep, it definitely is. So I have a foundational thing I do in the first month here. It's my little proprietary, actually, I call it, that sounds kind of fancy. It's not really proprietary, but this is the one part I don't give away. And you could just do, instead of doing landing pages for all of your services, do one and wait a few months. And if it starts making you more money, if you start generating more leads, invest that back into creating these other landing pages, right? But yeah, so all these services, you'd want to create YouTube videos on all these services. But like I said, time consuming, expensive. It's not something, this is something you'd probably want to do down the road. Yelp, and optimize any other third-party directory listings, Moz Local Scan. This is basically just like a local audit. Since you don't have your own website, it's not much we can do. Citations. You don't have any citations in any external directories. It's something we look at. This is the landing pages we've been talking about. You don't have those because you just, you just have that one web page. That's something that's really important. Those landing pages are really important. What really helps is if you have, like, at a minimum, you'd want to have on landing pages, basically the more you mention like specific things to the city you're selling in, you're servicing in, it kind of fools Google into relating that local area with your business services, right? So it's kind of a tricky way to you can. Sometimes I do it. If I'm having trouble ranking a page, I'll add it. Basically, you do things and you'd put some of the surrounding points of interest in the content. basically in your landing pages you want to use bullet points. You don't want to have what's called walls of text, right? You want to break it up. So we're at 34 minutes. Good. You want to use photos and videos on your landing pages. You don't have landing pages, so you don't. You want to make sure your primary category. So here on your home page, senior loan, whatever your primary category is, let me remember what it is. It should be mortgage lender, Garden City, New York. That on your home page should be your first mention up here, and it needs to be an H1. Let me check this. I didn't check this, meaning it's a header. Yeah, so you don't have any H1s, H2s. It's just boldface. It's not specified as a header, so you'd want to put that in an H1, and you'd want to definitely mention all of your. If you can't create all those landing pages, you need to mention, at minimum, mention all those services on here, and under those services have a couple sentences with some good keywords describing what those services are. Because you got to think about it this way. You go to your services. If you want to attract for reverse mortgages, and you may mention this on your website, I don't know, let's just do reverse. See, you don't mention reverse mortgages anywhere on your website, so nobody's ever gonna, I shouldn't say ever, generally, there's a lot less likely of a chance somebody's gonna find you by using that keyword because it's not mentioned anywhere on your page. So when you get into Google Ads and stuff like that, what you'd want to do is you never want to have an ad that links to your homepage. You want to link it to that specific landing page. That you want to have an entire page on reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgage. I've always heard about those. It's interesting. I'm curious what they are. Okay, using H2s, which you can't do. Categories mentioned in the home page, so that's kind of what we went over. Keywords towards the top of the page. So this is just basically how to optimize the text. Put geo mentions in the footer, links to landing pages, whatever. Okay. External links are really good. So anytime in your content you want to mention, anytime you mention, so let me just show you. In my blog, I don't, and it's ugly, it's old, it's dated, I don't really mess with it much anymore. What company makes funeral hearses? So you can see I have external links. So this goes to Wikipedia. And this goes to all these places. Google seems to like external links. I guess it tells Google you're part of the web ecosystem. You want to help people get from place A to place B. And there's some artificial intelligence, some AI reasons you want to do this stuff, which I won't get into. But yeah, so we want to make sure to implement external links on your blog post and also on your landing pages, if it makes sense. Do you have a call to action above the fold? So the call to action, you do, right here. This is good. I'd like to have like a form. Ideally, like if me or anybody else did your web page, I would have something stick out a lot more like that. Okay, proper keyword density. Are you using keywords enough? Don't have any content or landing pages, so we can't check that. Any awards, membership, certifications, and I actually need to do that. Reminds me, I need to do this on my page. I need to have my certifications down here. That's something you'd want to include. It gives you legitimacy, and it also makes sure Google has something called expertise, authority, trust. It's going to show Google that you're more of an expert if you have those certifications, and if it's possible to link to confirmation of those certifications, that would be cool. What a lot of businesses do, even if they don't have like a certification, they put it on there anyway. Probably, I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just telling you what some businesses do. Testimonials are real big, so that's something you'd want to put on there. Case studies, if you have case studies, which wouldn't really, probably make much sense for you. Socials on the website, do you have a link to your socials? And you do, which is good. Here, or here, so that's good. And so even if you're not posting anything interesting on social media, we think there's something called social signals. If you're just active in social media, it seems to help in the rankings, right? Because it shows Google that you're active. Contact in the menu in the footer, so you want to have up here contact with your phone number. You want it to be clickable. You also want to have it down here in the footer because that's where people look. You do have it here, and your phone number is clickable here. But it's something I definitely would put it. People look for it here at the top right. Let me put this over here. I keep clicking on that Word document. Okay, I like to put the areas we serve in the footer. So if you serve, so you're in Garden City, I believe. I don't want to keep going back, so let's just do. So if you also serve, which you probably serve all of New York, I would guess, but what you want to do, you don't want to put every city in New York. To start off with, you want to start off very niche. So I would put Great Neck, maybe the 5 biggest cities in your area that you service. And as you grow, you can, that's just to get that initial traffic. Because if you put New York, there's a lot of competition for, think about it this way, there's a ton of competition for Mortgage Lender USA. There's less competition for Mortgage Lender New York. There's much less competition for Mortgage Lender Great Neck. So you want to start very local and then work your way out as those rankings increase. So that's something we would do. About Us page. So you don't have an About Us page. People like to know who they're working with. I like the pictures really good. And I like the videos on YouTube are really good. I would put videos on the home page here because it's real. Oh, you do have one of the pictures. Okay, that's really good. It's real professional.
Hi, I'm Greg Ahern from Conto Mortgage.
Really good. Okay. What was the other thing I was looking at? What I've had a lot of clients succeed with doing is why us. So not just about us. And I have a lawnmower going crazy, so hopefully you can still hear this. About us, like what makes you different. What a lot of lawyers that I've worked with and real estate agents, what they'll do is they'll say, if just here's a free consultation. If you just meet with us, we'll give you a free tablet, or a free gift card. Because think about it this way: if you go to a bunch of dentist pages, well, dentist may not be a good example, but if I'm looking for a real estate agent and I research 3 of them and I go to 3 different web pages, they pretty much look the same. Now, if one said free consultation, I'll give you a tablet to meet with you, like a $50, the cheapest good one, respectable one is an Amazon Kindle Fire for $50. I honestly would go with them just because I want a tablet. So it's something you could try. And if it doesn't work, then it's something you just stop doing. But it's just a clever marketing technique that does work. Okay, legal purge. So do you have links to your disclaimer, all that stuff, terms of service? You don't have that. May not be something you can do. Are you using stock images? You are. Stock images aren't as good as actual real images. That you can take with your phone, these days you can take with your phone. 10 years ago, you'd have to hire a professional photographer. You don't have to do that anymore. Service benefits. So not only what the services are, but how do they benefit the client? Have links to find us on Yelp and all the niche directories on your homepage. Put the hours on your homepage. The FAQ, we went over that. It needs to be on your homepage. Put a map to your location on your website. You don't have that. Don't have schema implemented. Schema gives context to what the website in your business is. Add some code in the background. Give away like a free ebook or something. That's a good way to generate traffic. Like 10 things to ask before working with a mortgage lender. And you don't have to know the answers to that stuff. What I do when I've done stuff like this in the past is I would go search for that. I would find people that have already answered those questions on the web, the top 3 results or something, and just combine those into my own PDF. You could actually hire somebody on Fiverr or another website, probably for $50. That'd probably be a little more, like $100 or something, to say, okay, I need this document on the top 10 things to ask a mortgage broker before hiring them, and just give them and say, take the answers from these 5 websites. And you'd put that into an ebook. And while you would do that, it drives traffic, but it's also going to get people on a mailing list. That's that. Do you want to do Google Guaranteed? I don't think you can actually do that, because Google Guaranteed is basically for like plumbers and like roofers, and it adds a little nice Google Guaranteed badge to your listing, and it gives them insurance, like up to, I don't remember how much it is. I don't think that's something you can do. Add prices, that's not related to you. This is just the way that I could search that your website's indexed, and it is. Referral bonuses are good. I would set up a Google alert for Greg Ahern right now. Come here. And do Greg Ahern. Let's just do it and see if anything pops up. So nothing shows up. So let me just show you. So if you were doing Red Sox, basically anytime it finds Red Sox on the web, I'm going to get an email alert for it. So create alert, you can do like weekly or whatever. This is just something like I want to know if anybody mentions my email address, right? If it gets dropped anywhere. And I want to know, I Reserve Protocol is a crypto project I'm involved with. I want to know anytime that's mentioned, I want to be updated with it. Why this is important, it could be, I've had some clients, they've run this and they see like, they've had like an ex-girlfriend write something crazy about them or something. You want to get rid of that. And Google is starting to allow people to remove search results here. I don't think they have it available yet, but they're going to be, like those kind of weird search results. But also, just if somebody writes something negative about you on a blog or something. You just want to be aware of that stuff. Okay, moving along. We're almost finished here. Are you using Google Analytics? I don't think you are. I think that's probably your company is. Google Search Console. This is the dashboard for Google Search. You need to make sure once you have your own website, if you do, you need to configure it in there as a property. If you don't have your own website, there's not much you can do about it. You can see how critical having your own website is. You are in Bing Places. This is like Google Business Profile for Bing. You're not in Yahoo Local, and you're not in Apple Maps. I don't think you're in Apple. I was having issues with the Apple Maps, but you want to be in all these directories. You're not in the Baidu. It's a huge Chinese search engine, and Yandex, Russian search engine. You might think, well, that's kind of crazy. Well, the reason you want to do that is if you have a lot of content, you're going to start to get traffic possibly from international locations to your content. About 1% of my traffic, maybe 0.5 to 1% of my traffic comes from international locations. So how does that help you? The bottom line is you want to get more leads and make more money. How does that help? Well, how it helps is you're attracting. That's another visitor to your website, and the more visitors you get to your website, the more legitimate Google is going to see you are. Google is going to see you are, and it's going to start ranking you higher and higher in the results, right? So it's a snowballing effect. I don't think your website's being monitored using Uptime Robot. Basically, what that means is you want to make sure your website if it goes down, you get an alert for it. That's something your company's probably doing. Your HTTP does redirect to HTTPS. Branded anchors, meaning do your links don't just say link. It says whatever that link is, right? And you don't have any links, so you can't look at that. For your URL, does it use keywords and geo-info in the URL? Can't look at that because you only have that one web page. Don't have any images, alt text, we can't do that. You haven't plagiarized anywhere. You don't have any duplicate content because you don't have any. User Bob is basically, these are just ways you can see how people are interacting with your website. So you can see what people like, what's broken. If you find something's broken and people click the back button, Google's going to see that and it's going to rank you lower. Google Ads is big. It's something you should consider, and make sure you're tracking results. So this is the 6-month plan. I'm going to send you this. You can read over this. Basically, if you had Bing Places set up, of course we would remove it from here, and then we would add whatever you don't have set up. Also, another thing you want to make sure you're tracking your results. So this is a basic spreadsheet I've created, and I'm just going to give this to you. You want to every once a month what is my similar web ranking? Is it getting better? How many users are coming to my website? Is it getting better month to month? Google Analytics goals, Google Search Console stuff, Bing stuff, all kinds of stuff. So a lot of people don't track all these. They'll probably track 5 to 10 of these. And so you just want to make sure if you're doing a lot of work and things aren't getting better every 3 to 6 months, then whatever you're doing isn't working and you need to change things up. Unfortunately, there's not a 100% roadmap. A lot of it's trial and error. So I hope this has helped. 47 minutes, got in a little quicker than I wanted to, but since you didn't have a lot of those pages, there isn't much we could cover. I don't think you're going to succeed. I don't think you're going to have much, that's what I'm looking for, much success unless you had your own website. It's just really, really difficult for the reasons I stated. So if that's something you want help with, I'm not a designer, but I have a designer that does really good work. He actually created my Norzer website. You can see, I think it looks pretty good, a WordPress website. And WordPress is just so flexible. There's so much stuff you can do with it. So I hope this has helped you. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you want to do this all your own, or if you find there's somebody you want to work with, feel free to ask me questions anytime. Whether it's next week, next month, next year, I'm always here to help. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon. And have a good day.